How thin is too thin? Advertisement. There's no doubt that the MacBook Pro 2018 15 inches thin and light design makes for a very attractive and desirable design. However, we need to remember that Apple is marketing the MacBook Pro 2018 at professionals first and foremost, and it's here that we have to wonder if its thinness may be a hindrance. This is because professional devices need to put workflow above all else, including aesthetics. Because of its thin design, the MacBook Pro 2018 comes with just 4 USB-C ports and 1 headphone jack port. To be fair, these are all Thunderbolt 3, which means data transfer is extremely fast if you have compatible devices. However, if you're trying to use legacy hardware with the MacBook Pro, like anything that requires a standard USB a port, you'll need to use an adapter which you'll have to buy separately. If you want to plug it into an Ethernet cable, again you'll need an adapter. Are you a photographer who needs to transfer photos from a memory card? Again, you'll need an adapter. While some people will say that the lack of ports is a price to pay for the thin and light design, if you're after a workstation that handles everything you need with a minimum of fuss, then you'll soon get frustrated with the MacBook Pro. If you look at other professional-centered laptops, like Lenovo's ThinkPad, they are good examples of putting usability above svelte design. They have workmanlike appearances and can be big and bulky, but you'll be able to plug your hardware in quickly and easily. If compatibility and ease of use is your top priority, you may want to look at a less flashy Pro laptop that supports legacy hardware rather than the MacBook Pro. However, the gorgeously thin design of the MacBook Pro means it's a professional notebook that appeals to consumers as well. If you love Apple's device and want the most powerful MacBook ever made, then the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch is going to be incredibly tempting. However, Apple's pursuit of thinness with the MacBook Pro does have other implications. There's some very powerful hardware crammed into the MacBook Pro's diminutive body, and the more powerful the hardware, the hotter it runs. With a thin and light body, this means there needs to be a very good cooling solution that can keep it from overheating. Well, on the whole, the cooling solution of the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch does a good job. There's not much annoying fan noise whirring up when performing intensive tasks like some laptops. There have been worrying reports that the MacBook Pro 2018 throttles the performance of its processor when it gets too hot. This is the process of limiting the performance of the processor to stop it overheating. While this does happen with other laptops, the worrying thing here is how quickly the MacBook Pro 2018 seems to throttle the processor. It means that a cheaper MacBook Pro, with a Core i7 processor, rather than a Core i9 chip, can actually perform better during intensive tasks. We'll look into this further later on in this review, but the implication is that Apple's thin design of the MacBook Pro may actually hamper its performance. If that is indeed the case, then you may want to think carefully about how important a thin and light design is when looking for a laptop to help you with your professional work. Benchmarks. Here's how the 15-inch MacBook Pro mid-2018 performed in our suite of benchmark tests. Cinebench CPU, 1057 points. Graphics, 102.28 FPS. Geekbench 4 single-core, 5542, multi-core, 23431. Battery life, TechRadar movie test. 9 hours and 58 minutes. While the outside of the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch is pretty similar to last year's model, inside, things have been drastically improved. The new MacBook Pro comes with a choice of Intel 8th generation core processors, with a 15-inch model, giving users a choice between a 6-core Intel Core i7 with a 2.2 GHz base clock and turbo boost speed of up to 4.1 GHz, or a Core i9 CPU with a base clock of 2.9 GHz that can turbo up to 4.8 GHz. This new generation of Intel processors offer up to 70% faster performance over the MacBook Pro 2017. According to Apple, Intel has also been touting the performance benefits of the new generation, which also promises better power efficiency for longer battery life. Addressing the throttling issue. As with the 13-inch MacBook Pro 2018, we also transcoded a 57-minute, 1080p video to have using Handbrake's Apple 1080p 30 surround preset, with the video encoder switched to H.265, x265. This is where things got interesting, considering the accusations of extreme throttling for the MacBook Pro. The video transcode is a very CPU-intensive task, and we watched the clock speeds during this test. While almost 100% of the CPU was being used, the clock speeds of the processor started at around 2.82 GHz, then dropped to 2.34 GHz on average, sometimes going as low as 1.94 GHz. This is a long way off the 2.90 GHz base clock and 4.8 GHz boost clock advertised. CPU temperatures, meanwhile, hit a maximum of 97 C. That's very hot. And it's clear that's why the clock speeds were lowered. However, Apple has since explained that there was a missing digital key in the firmware that impacts the thermal management system and could drive clock speeds down under heavy thermal loads. On the new MacBook Pro, a bug fix is included in macOS High Sierra 10.13.6 supplemental update and is recommended. So, we downloaded and installed the update and ran the tests again. It completed in 1 hour, 13 minutes. During the test, clock speeds were much more stable at around 2.99 GHz, dropping to 2.50 GHz at the lowest. This is faster than the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which finished the same test in 1 hour 33 minutes. This also had the new patch installed. Meanwhile, the 15-inch MacBook Pro from late 2016, with an older 2.7 GHz, quad-core i7 CPU, took 1 hour 40 minutes. So, that new, powerful Core i9 chip in the 15-inch 2018 MacBook Pro really does make a difference to performance. It also shows that it's well worth installing the latest macOS update to get the full performance potential of the MacBook Pro 2018. Battery life. Advertisement. We also tested out the battery life of the MacBook Pro 2018. Apple claims up to 10 hours of battery life, but of course, that depends on the tasks you're running. Apple's battery life tests may not be as rigorous as ours, which is why we found the MacBook Pro 2018 to come quite a bit under that figure in our battery tests. This involved looping 1080p video at 50% brightness and volume dash, with all backlighting and radios, but Wi-Fi disabled until it dies. The 2018 MacBook Pro lasted 9 hours and 58 minutes before it shut down, which isn't a bad amount compared to its rivals, and close to Apple's promised 10 hours. Apple runs its tests at 75% screen brightness. If you're working on something more intensive, such as video rendering, expect an even more reduced battery life. Verdict. In our review of the MacBook Pro 2018 13-inch, we lamented the fact that this year's model of the smaller MacBook Pro was a more iterative upgrade, rather than a dramatic leap forward. The MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch is a more impressive upgrade over last year's model, with the revised processor and increased RAM amount making a big difference in performance. If you're a professional looking for a portable Apple device, then the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch will be very tempting. However, this still doesn't feel like a machine designed to tempt Windows users, who will likely be frustrated by some of Apple's quirks and high price tag. Limiting the number of ports to a handful of USB-C connections is fine in modern consumer devices, but for professionals who require legacy connections, having to use an adapter, which isn't included despite the high price, won't cut it. And, while we do love the thin and light design of the MacBook Pro 2018, we are concerned that it's too much at the expense of power users and professionals. The very people Apple are supposed to be targeting with the MacBook Pro. There's no doubt that the MacBook Pro 2018 15-inch is a powerful and desirable notebook that has a gorgeous design that's pretty much peerless when it comes to workstations. If you're an Apple fan and have the budget, you'll love this device. However, as a purely professional notebook, we still feel that Apple has lost sight of what pro users really want.